What is going on? I hope you guys are having an awesome Friday. Welcome to Snakes and Doves, our Friday show, weekly news roundup. Hope y'all have had a great week and praise God for another week. This is the show where I've spent a lifetime so far in mass media, and so there's things you see in the world around us, not only in the news stories that they try to get us all excited about, but in just typical news coming at you that we take a look at from a Christian perspective, a biblical perspective, and how that shapes our politics, our views on culture, media, all that good stuff. So that's what we're here to do today. Hope you guys have had a great week. Go ahead and, like I said in there, you seen any interesting news? You seen anything that sparked an emotion within you? That's probably very purposeful. And so go ahead and put that in the comments. We'll dive into it. We got a couple of things that I thought we could touch on today that I've seen so far this week. One is, the first and most, I don't know if it's the first one we're going to talk about, but the most near and dear to my heart is Cracker Barrel. Because who doesn't love Cracker Barrel? So that's one. What's going on with this story out of Florida? Horrible about a truck driver who killed quite a few family members. Should he have been driving? Shouldn't he have been driving? What's going on with that? Hey, Mama, happy Friday. Love you. And then what was the last one that sparked me? Let me see what I got written down over here. The stuff going on with in D.C., rounding up people, throwing them in jail. Is that good? Is that bad? What's up with that? And on top of that, add any stuff you guys are getting hit with. Have you seen anything in the news that sparked interest? Any movies? Any cultural things? So yeah, let's dive into it. Let's go first. You know what? I wasn't going to start with it, but I think I'm going to. Let's do this one. Cracker Barrel. I mean, you're on the internet, so you've seen this. What's going on with Cracker Barrel? I feel like we've been down this road before. For those of y'all that joined us yesterday, we were talking about it a bit when we were on just an impromptu thing as I was testing out some stuff. We talked about Cracker Barrel for a little bit, but Cracker Barrel, the hubbub is that they've gone into a rebrand. They've changed the logo. You look at their website, it looks different. You go into a store, they're saying that they're going to redo all the stores. What's up with that? And let me just say I won't even say it's my first, but my first thought today, and it's a new thought, as I was thinking about the news, is yes, it's important to gauge how someone's trying to make you feel through a particular news story, but it's also really important to try and figure out, are they just trying to distract me as something? And when you look at it from a mass media perspective, you're not an individual viewer. They view you as a block. You fall into certain categories. And so are they trying to distract me, which really means your greater category, about something else, right? And I hadn't thought this about the Cracker Barrel thing, hadn't thought this about, there's a couple other things that we'll even touch on, which is like the Florida, they say an illegal immigrant driving a truck kills all these people that has got people in a hubbub, rightly so or not rightly so. We'll take a look at it. What are they trying to distract from? And the first thing that came to my mind that was massive in the news a couple weeks ago is the Epstein stuff, right? That's that same core block, conservative, Christian, for lack of a better term, Southern demographic that they look at. That's that same demographic that was going hard into the Epstein stuff. Doesn't mean that's what it is, right? But there's only so much time in a day you have, and there's only so much time in a day that I have, right? And there's especially only so much time that I have to devote to things outside of my family, what's going on, what we have going on with work stuff, what we got going on with friends around here. So there's only so much time everybody's got to devote. And whatever that looks like for you and for me, we need to make sure that we're devoting that time to things that, sure, you can have fun. That's half of what the Cracker Barrel story is. But let's make sure that we're devoting that time to things that are additive. That we're devoting that time to things that make the world around us into a better place, that truly bring biblical values. I always say here at Lost Art, we're about biblical values and a Western perspective on the world. I don't mean American Western, though you can maybe be confused with that on the hat, which I do love. But I mean like Western as opposed to Eastern cultural impacts and the values that this country was founded on, right? So I say that on the outset because we should be cognizant of that. Let's say it's an hour each day you have to devote to things outside of your regular responsibilities, your job, your family, your friends, your church, whatever that is. Afternoon, man. Hope you're doing good. Love you. Make sure that you're focusing on things that are additive, not things that are completely out of your control, but things that you can have an impact on today, tomorrow, that you can learn more about, that you can educate people on. So make sure that you are focusing on those things where you can have the greatest impact. That being said, a big impact in my life is Cracker Barrel. We eat there probably weekly. Yeah, don't kick me out. We eat there weekly. So this is near and dear to me, right? Let's go to this one. Let's just go. And you'll notice whenever I'm looking at news, I'm looking up stuff. Google is not my favorite, most trusted source. But I always go to sources that people that may disagree with me go to, because it gives me a perspective on the way the world, the way those that I may not come into contact with all the time are seeing things. So you'll see a lot of websites that wouldn't be my go-to for news. So let's go to Cracker Barrel. Let's just go to crackerbarrel.com. Cracker Barrel. Oh, look at the news. It's all over the place. Cracker Barrel stock plunges after new logo release. I saw that. I saw that their stock crashed. And again, I feel like we've seen this before. Like, did they not learn their lesson from Bud Light? Did they not learn their lesson from Target? Did they not learn their lesson from Jaguar, who sold like 49 or 39 cars in all of April or something I saw a news story about? And look, if you own a company, right, your job is to sell a product. If you're doing that job correctly, you know who purchases your product. And that's just what it is. It's a disconnect from the boardroom to the dining room in Cracker Barrel's case, where what the boardroom wants to push, the dining room ain't necessarily on board with it. And guess who ends up paying the checks of that boardroom? It's the dining room. So, yeah, whatever. Jordan Davis. Oh, that might have been Jordan. I need to look up and see what songs Jordan. Do y'all know what songs Jordan Davis sings? Anybody? I've heard the name, but I don't know. None of them are coming top of mind. Let's go to Cracker Barrel's website. No, you can't use my location, Cracker Barrel. Okay, we touched on a little bit of this yesterday, but like this font seems a little wonky to me. Let's see if, okay, so this is the new logo. And look, I'll just say this again because I think it bears repeating. So for those of y'all that have heard me say it, forgive me. Hang out for a second. I'm not going to completely even disagree with them that Cracker Barrel needed a little love in their dining rooms. But what it really needed was somebody going in there with a duster and cleaning up some of those antiques, right? We talked yesterday about, some of the accoutrements that are going on there. And we can dive into those here in a second. But what Cracker Barrel, I'm fine. Look, some of this, like you change the logo. Let's just go back to the logo. Let me go back. Cracker Barrel logo. Give me an image. Okay. Yeah. So you changed it from this guy. Look, the old timer sitting next to the barrel. I'm pretty sure they still have this chair in a Cracker Barrel somewhere. Somebody's sitting in at this very moment. But they changed it from that to the one up top. I'm not even mad at that. That's fine. That's fine. Like, do I miss the guy? Yeah, I miss the guy. It was cool. You like, in your mind, you were like, this is the guy who's maybe back there making my pancakes, whatever. But I'm fine with that. I'm fine with changing the logo, spice it up. That's okay. But I don't think, like right here, you can kind of see that just feels more vapid than this, right? That's okay. So I don't have an issue with that. I feel like what people have a real issue with is what's been unearthed since we found out about this rebrand. Let's go Cracker Barrel updated dining rooms. Okay. This is, it's not going to pull it up on there big. Here we go. This is, look, let me go to the big one of this. This is the Cracker Barrel that we know and love, right? This is the are you guys tired of I feel like pop-ups came and then they were gone for a little bit. Like they were a big thing back in the day. And then they were gone for a little bit and now they're back in full force. Am I the only one that thinks that? But here's the Cracker Barrel we know and love. Big fireplace. I heard the CEO say fireplace isn't going anywhere. That's fine. That's what we know and love, right? Feels like me, mom, papa's house. It was a converted barn built in 1903. And then, look, I could do without this lattice. And okay, here's something else I think. Do y'all think about this when you go into Cracker Barrel? And I'm old enough to remember these times. Cracker Barrel, back in the day, for those of y'all that are maybe too young, you used to be able to smoke in restaurants, cigarettes. And it started out that there would be a smokers section, right? And they'd have like a little ventilation thing. They were trying to get it out. And like that lattice separated like the smoker section from the non-smoker section. You could still smell the smoke in the non-smoker section. But the lattice has stayed, right? So I'm fine with the lattice going away, okay? I'm not as butthurt about that as I've seen some people be. But I will say we should have thought a little bit more on this rebrand. So let's go back. Here's the pictures that I saw. And you may or may not have seen these too. Man, I'm just seeing great pictures of just the old. Here we go. Let's go here. Updates. Here's what it is. We looked at this. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Sure. This Cracker Barrel on the inside. What that looks like to me, right? That looks like Chip and Joanna Gaines threw up all over a Cracker Barrel. It feels like the CEO watched one too many Magnolia shows and thought, we should just update this. These people that like going here, they like Chip and Joanna Gaines. Let's make the inside feel like a Magnolia store. We don't. It doesn't have that same feel. I don't know about y'all, but when we'd go to Cracker Barrel, we would go and it'd feel like Meemaw's house, right? Like Meemaw was back there cooking. And this just doesn't feel like Meemaw's house. This feels like the aunt who recently moved to Franklin, Tennessee and bought a modern barn dominium. It doesn't feel genuine, right? The second thing I will say is the chairs. One of the things, and this came to me last night when we were talking about it, is everyone loves the chairs at Cracker Barrel. And here's why you love the chairs. You love the chairs because they've been there since it was first established. The chairs are rocking chairs. Although they're not designed to be rocking chairs, they've been sat in so much that those joints have become loose, so they rock. And my sister pointed out something. Not only are they rocking chairs, they're also swivel chairs. Not because they have legs, but because there is so much grease and butter that has been on that ground for decades that you're able to slide around wherever you want to go. I don't want perfect seating at my Cracker Barrel. So look, to some extent, am I okay with sure, let's keep some more of the old school tchotchke stuff, which they've tried to do. These just look like posters that they found at a, I don't know, like a Restoration Hardware and put up that look halfway old, but they were made 6 months ago. And so the redesign, not a big fan, right? Again, it's about, they're not in touch with their consumer. Consumer can get over that though, right? It's fine. You want to go in a different direction, that's cool. But what it's brought up is what Cracker Barrel actually stands for. Barrel. And this is something that I saw that hurt my heart. Look, you're a company. You can do whatever you want to do. Scott, boycott Cracker Barrel. Man, it hurts my heart. And look, I wouldn't just because the redesign or the taking away the old logo that we all loved. But whenever it started unearthing things like this, Scott, it was like, man, I can't. Again, we touched on it. Jaguar, Bud Light, Target. I mean, there's a dozen more that you could name in the past 5 years. Mikey, you're never eating there again? I know. I mean, like, and it hurts me because we're a family that eats there once a week, And so whenever it unearthed this, it brought up the more, like, serious thing. Like, we joke about the logo. I'll miss the old timer on the logo. I'll miss, like, that half of it used to be a smoking section, half of it used to not, and they still have the lattice up from that, which is great. Reminds me of great times. But whenever you're supporting things and you're so disconnected from your target audience, the people that are going in, that are enjoying your pancakes, your chicken and dumplings. Look, I can even get on board with a little menu change on the lunch menu. Don't change that breakfast menu. Cracker Barrel do not change the breakfast menu. But I can get on board with a little bit of a lunch change. Let's see if we can't spice it up with some more Southern home style cooking. But whenever you go to this and you realize the things that they're supporting that none of us knew, that's where it becomes a deeper issue for me. Because look, if we're really looking at everything as if, look, God's blessed us with everything that we have. I'm called to steward everything from my family to where I spend my money, all of it. Now I know this about you, Cracker Barrel, and I've been unveiled to it. And so to both you, Scott, Mikey, to both your points, I don't know, like next time I go into Cracker Barrel, and the poor waitress, Martha, who works there, and Lou Ann, who works there, like, they're getting flack from this all the time, now that this stuff's come out. So I feel bad for them because, they're not on board with it. But it's again, this like corporatization of America where you take these things that were great things, staples, stuff that we grew up on. You get a bunch of people who are like overly educated to step in, have worked in the corporate system their whole life, jumped from Procter & Gamble to General Electric, and now they're at, Cracker Barrel or whatever the case is with the CEO. They have this different outlook on life where they're trying to push forward their agenda onto people. And again, if you want to have a company that does that, great, but don't act like you're on my side, act like you're on my team, and then use the resources that you gain by telling me that in a way that's completely opposite to the way that I believe. Again, do what you want to do. America's a free country. You want to have a restaurant who does that, but don't veil it. And so to me, that's the big issue with Cracker Barrel. And let's take a look at the new CEO, Cracker Barrel CEO, right? Julie Fells Massino. I guess she was the CEO since just November of a couple of years. Man, Julie, maybe a short stint. And by the way, Cracker Barrel, if you're looking for a new CEO, I'll do it for free. I'll do it. All I require is I'm gonna need a good amount of pancakes. as well as those mini bottles of syrup, which, by the way, it's every time I go to are you guys the same way? Every time I go to Cracker Barrel, it shocks me that like they still bring those out and they still do syrup that way. It makes me so happy to bring it out. It's warm. There's never enough syrup in just one of those bottles. You need like 3 of them for a mama's pancake breakfast. But it shocks me that they haven't moved into an age where like, you get 2 bottles with every, pancake. No, they'll just keep bringing them. As long as you're using them, they'll keep bringing them. And I love that about Cracker Barrel because I keep thinking every time I go in there that I'm going to go in and somewhere in small print on the bottom of the menu is going to say like 2 syrups included in each pancake order. Each other one is, $1.50 or $2 or whatever they decide to charge. So good on you, Cracker Barrel, for not changing that. If you change that, I'm complete. I'm probably already out, but I'm completely out. So let's go back. Let's find the CEO. Do we have like dishing on the big changes coming? Yeah, I mean, we know the big changes. Board of directors, investors. Okay, let's see what her deal is. Seasoned executive. See, like, I don't want a seasoned. Are we not learning these lessons? Big companies, like, I feel like they get stuck. They're in the business of doing business. It reminds me. There's a great Parks and Rec episode with Aziz Ansari, where he's like basically in the business of being in business. That's what it feels like these people are. And I think that's why people have such a visceral reaction whenever they come into these brands that they love, because she has no real connection to Julie. If Julie ate at Cracker Barrel a handful of times before she took the CEO job, I would be shocked, right? Maybe she did. Maybe she has. But I would be shocked. And so it feels like they jump from company to this other company. And it just feels vapid. It feels like the interior of that new Cracker Barrel redesign that we saw, right? It just feels like you watched some Chip and Joanna Gaines who were in their own hot water. And you're like, okay, like these, it almost feels like there's animosity towards your customer, like, well, we just need to show our customer what's actually cool and what's actually hip. And it's like, no, we kind of like what it is, like just more of the same. And I think that's my problem with this whole like progressive mindset is like, sometimes you've hit it, like you got it, you're good, you nailed it. Like, stop. You don't have to keep going. Sometimes you can make a great thing bad because you keep trying to tweak it. You keep trying to change it. And let's see where Miss Messino was before. Previously served Taco Bell. I see, and this goes to, I'm good, Andrea. How are you doing? It's good to see you on here. I'm crushed about the news on Cracker Barrel. Are you a big Cracker Barrel family? We grew up in the South. So anytime we were going to, and I had this conversation with somebody too. Look, Cracker Barrel is the best chain breakfast restaurant, hands down. I will absolutely say that. Don't bring out that like there's this one place that, here in town in a one-off restaurant, two-off restaurant that's local, 100%. Yeah, it is. It's sad. And Cracker Barrel, though, you go to any town, USA, and you're going to have a solid 8.5 breakfast. Sometimes, depending on how crispy those edges are in the pancakes, you're going to have a 10 out of 10 breakfast. But it's always going to be an 8.5 or above, right? And so a lot of us grew up going there with me, mom, papa, going there with, family, going there, on trips across the country. And I think in the minds of the I was going to say the ruling class, it's kind of is what it is. All these, doctorate degrees, overeducated people. It's like, well, for these simpletons, just kind of throw them this formula and they'll like it. And we'll drag them into the modern age with stuff. And it's like, I think in their mind, whoever hired Julie on as the CEO, it's like, well, she was at Taco Bell. And like, normal people like Taco Bell. So bring her in here into Cracker Barrel and, people love it too. And you cannot apply a blanket strategy to all of these things. So she was at Taco Bell. What'd she do before that? President North America, Taco Bell. Fisher, they jump from company to company. They jump from like corporate job. They're in the business of being in business. And what you really need in a place like this is somebody who grew up loving the product, right? I would rather have somebody who loved where they're working and maybe even worked from the bottom up, right? And understands who's going in there to eat. If you're a store that sells, yeah, and we all know Taco Bell is doing great. Yeah, exactly. Look, I'll do a taco every once in a while, but like, look, your target demo for Taco Bell is like drunk guy at 2:30 in the morning who needs something to eat, right? Cracker Barrel is that like whatever. And so you have all these people, like they jump from GM, Fisher Price, Mattel. Where was she before that? Yeah, Mattel, Fisher Price, GM. And they just feel so vapid. Sprinkles Cupcakes, which again feels like a vapid cupcake company to me. I don't know, maybe that's a controversial statement, but like their cupcakes are not great. They're not good. Have you ever had a cupcake made by Thelma down in, small town USA who just makes them for the local gas station? That's a good cupcake. And so of course, Starbucks, of course. And you jump from corporate job to corporate job thinking, okay, we'll just throw this blanket statement over. And that's why it hurts us. It hurts our feelings is because it feels like you feel like a cog in the wheel, right? You're just trying to garner as much revenue as you can from your customers, exploit the existing brand, and then you're going to move on, Julie, to whatever the next brand is. And I think that's where people with Cracker Barrel are like, no more. This is the line. And part of me loves it. Part of me laughs at it because, like I said earlier, the real issue for me is what it has exposed as far as their beliefs, whether it be in DEI or whether it be in supporting homosexuality. That to me is the bigger thing, where it's like, okay, I don't know, for a family that eats at Cracker Barrel once a week, I don't know that I can go anymore, with a clear conscience, because once we're unveiled to things, we now have the responsibility of responding to those things. Christ is living. What's going on? Good to see you. Praise God for you. I had a thought too on DEI, right? Socialism, Marxism, DEI, this whole idea of like a level playing field, and how it's humans trying to take the role of God, right? It is God. Look, some people start out with more than others? Sure. Do some people start out with less? Sure, absolutely. But what does the Bible tell? You can go to the parable of the talents, right? God assigns talents. God is the one. Did I say what? Concurrence? I don't know what that means. What's going on, Marissa? Good to see you. The whole idea of like us as humans leveling the playing field is us trying to play God, right? In the parable of the talents, it said God assigned talents, right? The master in that story is God, right? So we know that God blesses certain people with some things, some without, and that's part of trusting God and his sovereignty in what he's doing. And then it's about what those people then do with those talents. Whenever we get into Marxism, socialism, DEI falls into the same category. It's all about us trying to make things more fair because we're seeing God as if he hasn't made it fair enough to our liking. And we're God. We make all the calls on those things. We call the shots. And let's figure out how to make this more fair, because the way God did it obviously is not fair. Autocorrect sabotage. Q. Quick. That's funny. That's good, Marissa. But God bless you, Joshua. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. And we have to take the talents. God's given you certain things. If you're on here and able to see me, God's given you vision, right? Some people don't have, some people, they don't have that peace, right? So we've got to be grateful for what God's blessed us with and then use those things to increase the kingdom. It is not our job to try and play the role of God and say, God got it wrong and we need to step in here and make it right. Look, whenever there is oppression in the world, whenever there is unrighteousness, whenever there is something that we know by the word of God, and you only know this by studying the Bible, looking at the Bible, meditating on it, praying on it, is whenever there's an injustice, we are called as believers to step in and bring order to chaotic situations. But a blanket statement that like we're going to play God, that's where it starts getting, I don't know. I was just thinking about that the other day. Let me know what y'all think. Thumbs up to you and yours. Tanker, it's good to see you, man. The enemy is at work. Satan is at work trying to always confuse us, bring in lies. And one of the things I hit on earlier, whenever it comes to news, it comes to media, there is only so much time you have in a day, and I have in a day, and there's even less time in a day that I have to devote to looking at the news, looking at media, whether you guys get your news from Twitter, from YouTube, from Instagram, whatever. Like that's how people devour news now, right? And so we have to make sure that we're focusing on those things, not only where we can make an impact and change the world, but we can bring biblical truth into those places. And so I think that's where we have to be really decisive. Country kid, yes, we live in Wyoming. We are, there's a few people that live in Wyoming. I remember there was a meme going around a while ago, like nobody lives in Wyoming. Well, there's a few, not many. But yeah, we're up here in Wyoming, and we love it. Give the world one this word of God the best. I would give. Christ is living. What are you saying? I'm not understanding what you're saying there. I would give up in the world. Why this word of God the best? The word. Not sure what you're saying, but rephrase it. Let me know, and then we can chat on it. But that's why it's so incumbent upon us. Whenever we're getting hit with stuff, you're getting hit with stuff all day, and you've got to make decisions on what are you going to spend time looking into. I've told this story a couple times because it's current in my life, and it kind of changed my perspective in the last couple of weeks. Or I won't say changed my perspective. It solidified something that I should have been doing for a long time. And that is, I was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was earlier this week. I think it was last week. I wanted to look in, I was talking about eschatology, which is a big word for end times belief, right? And some Christians get really into it and they're way into it. My opinion on it is it's fine. You can look into it. To me, it doesn't change much. Our goal is, and our job is still to push forward the gospel of Jesus. So I'll trust him for what ends up coming. And it can be fine to be able to look into it. But it can also just end up being a waste of time because you're theorizing on a bunch of things that, people have been theorizing on forever. And Christ himself said, only the Father knows the time and place, right? So I was looking into eschatology, and I like to go back, and one of the ways that I think is most helpful as a baseline whenever you go into study stuff is look at other great thinkers, biblical thinkers, and people that you trust that thought on something, and let that sort of shape the groundwork. And then you can go and do your research, and you could have a totally different opinion, but you at least know you're kind of sharpening yourself against those other great thinkers that have come before you, right? So I wanted to know what R.C. Sproul, who was a great man of God, thought about end times. And I Googled it, punched it in the Google machine, and it said R.C. Sproul was a post-millennialist, right? Let me see if it'll do it on here now. I'll just do it real time. Y'all bear with me. It's all new doing it in front of my computer, it's kind of cool. I don't mind it. I can definitely see the comments a lot better. R.C. Sproul. Why did I spell it like that? O-U-L, end time belief. R.C. Sproul. Maybe it wasn't R.C. Sproul. Maybe it was Spurgeon. Another great end time thinker. Spurgeon. I can't remember who it was. I'll look it up and I'll get it right on one of the morning things. Let me go back over here and come to you guys. So I was looking up. I'll tell you my thoughts on where I kind of landed on it. And it said, whenever I Googled it, it was like he is a post-millennialist, which if you haven't looked into end time theology means nothing to you. But it does shape kind of how you view the world and the 1,000 years, whatever. And I was like, man, that doesn't really fit in with all his teachings that I knew. And so I dove deeper, and all like what I kept getting back in the first like page of Google was, he's a post-millennialist. And I was like, again, that just doesn't, my discerning bell was going off. And I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. And so I dug deeper and I went to his estate and looked at this like 60-page document that was on his end time beliefs that they had done. And it said, it was a slog to get through. If I told you I read the whole thing, I'd be lying to you. But even skimming it was a slog. And by the end, it said, no, he's a traditional premillennialist is what he was. And so it reminded me of, if you're going to dive into something, look, and it goes back to let your yes be yes, your no be no, be a man of your word. And part of that is if you tell somebody something, you better have done the legwork to know if what you're saying is true or not. And in a world where we get increasingly more confusing news, we get increasingly more confusion in the world around us, we've got to really be discerning in that and focus on things that we can dive into, as opposed to just knowing a ton about, or a little about a ton of things. So that was my lesson for the week to me. Henry, I don't speak that language, but it's great to have you. Tell us what you think of Revelation. Yeah. What do I think of Revelation? I think it is, it's a beautiful book. It is since John wrote it, it was a book that Christians have always disagreed on. I fall in the same camp as Sproul did, in that I'm a traditional premillennialist. I believe that the 1,000-year reign is yet to come, and there will be a physical return before that 1,000 years of Jesus. That's my belief. But a lot like him, I also believe that, like, for me, I'm called to other areas. Some Christians are maybe called to that. And so they should lean in and study it more if they see it being fruitful in their life. That's the key. We've got to be reflecting on what is fruitful in your life and what is not. And I find that sometimes we can dive into that stuff more, and it can be fun. But at its best, it is interesting to know. It can be somewhat useful to us as believers, but there are definitely other theological beliefs that I feel like are more fruitful if you want to have conversations with believers. And then I feel like at worst, it can be completely misleading to people. So, country that dumbs everything down. Yeah. We have become a country that, look, we want, and what you're talking about with that is we want the same outcomes for everyone. And again, like you've heard me say, if you've been on any of these lives, like, our God is the God of the harvest. We do the work that he's called us to, and then we leave the rest up to him because we just don't know what he's doing. And to say that there wouldn't be disparity of outcomes, it's just, yeah. Again, so often that looks like very practically having to play God and step in. So let's go into... Okay, I want to talk with you guys about this because I am, and we talked a little bit about it before, but I'm still like wrestling with this. It's what's going on in DC with the National Guard. And if you guys have more information, go ahead and punch it in. Y'all have an opinion on it. As far as him cleaning up the streets, getting people off the streets, basically giving them the option of, we'll give you help. You either go get help or you go to jail, right? And here's where I'm at. I completely understand why he's doing it. We lived in, don't hold it against me, but we lived in Los Angeles for a long time. And I saw that city go from a city that had homeless people. They were mainly schizophrenic that lived on the streets to, in like just a horrible homeless problem that was unmanageable, that was mainly younger people who were drug addicts. And sadly, there were people that, probably got painkillers, got oxys from their doctors, couldn't afford oxys anymore, were addicted, and then got hooked on heroin, then got hooked on fentanyl when that came around. And so I've seen it firsthand, and how if you're paying taxes, a correctly working city is a city where you can walk down the sidewalk with your kid, where you can walk to the park. And definitely in that city, and I haven't been to D.C. in a long time, I assume that's probably the same thing that was going on in D.C. It just became unsafe, right? So I look at it from the angle of like, if I had a child, right? And as believers, we should be thinking about, we should love everyone. Theoretically, I don't, but we should love everyone with the same deepness of love in which we love those that we hold most dear, right? And if I had a child who was addicted to drugs and I knew was on the street somewhere, there is nothing that could stop me from going and helping that child, grabbing, saying, I love you, holding, just taking care of them, hugging them, I would take them off those streets. And I know any parent watching this would do the exact same thing. So leaving people who are in the midst of drug addiction, literally living in hell, malnourished, in squalor, in sickness, skin diseases we haven't seen forever because there's no hygiene. Leaving them where they are, regardless of what Nancy Pelosi wants to tell you, is not loving. This is where the dilemma comes in for me, though, is that, and I'll try and say this in a way where YouTube doesn't throttle me, but just 5 years ago, we saw how when the government came out with something and they said, look, we have this thing that'll help you. You either take this thing or you can't do certain things, right? We're not going to allow you to go places. We're not going to allow you to travel. We're not going to allow you to do these things. And you have the choice not to, but you're not going to be able to do all these things. We saw how that played out, right? So what I mean by all this, to summarize it, is that I agree with what Trump's doing. But what does that look like whenever it's not someone who holds my value set in power? And we have to be intellectually honest to say that the things that we push forward need to work in a constitutional republic, regardless of who's in power. So what does that look like for us when the next big black swan happens and they say, well, you got to do this thing, or you're restricted to this, or you got to go live over here. And I don't know. That's what I'm struggling with it. Do y'all have any thoughts on that? Is it just me that's like, I could see this going wrong, right? Not in the current iteration. And I love seeing that Trump was out there with the National Guard soldiers, helping them, which was awesome. But I don't know if I'm the only one who's having that thought. Let's see what's going on with that. Washington, D.C. National Guard. Let's just see. National Guard to carry weapons in D.C. deployment. And look, I was talking about like spending a lifetime in mass media. I can already tell the way the Washington Post is trying to phrase this, right? And you know it because it's the Washington Post. But like even the way they authorizes National Guard to carry weapons in D.C. deployment, what they're like, the subcontext of that is, can you believe like these weapons, they love the word weapons of war, these weapons of war being deployed onto our streets? What, like a fascist that he's doing this, right? So that's the underline. So we know what we're probably going to get from this. And it's an ominous picture. No, are they going to make me sign it? Are you guys frustrated too with all these news websites that like you click on it and it's like, is anyone subscribing to that? Like, especially from the Washington Post, like maybe a more reputable news source. Let me go again. Fox News. Like normally I'd click on something like that, even though look, Fox News. I don't know how y'all feel about Fox News, but Fox News has taken some pretty interesting stances themselves, and a lot like Cracker Barrel wanted to seem like they were on the same page, but not. But let's go to like the New York Times. I bet it pops up like subscribe. Troops so same headline. No, I don't want to sign up. All right, let's just go to ABC. Let's see. To carry DQ. Look, and they're all the same. Like same picture. Washington Post, same picture, same headline. And like, so if you're still sitting out there thinking like this whole thing isn't coordinated, oh, it's coordinated. Andrew, you like Fox News? I like Fox News. Okay. I like Newsmax. I really like Newsmax. Fox News. My issue with Fox News is that I think sometimes they don't take a hard enough line, and they couch things. That would be my issue with Fox News. That's who I'm turning on if I'm turning on the TV for sure. But I it's not that I don't like them. It's just mainly that I'm a little bit wary. Yeah, OAN's great. I love OAN too. I assume that's what you were saying there. I liked OAN. OA, not OA, because I don't know what that is, but OAN. Yeah. OAN's great. They were great. Are they still around? They took them off. That's how you know they were like putting out real news, is that all of a sudden they were gone from every channel. But just be aware. Like, be aware that like most of the stuff that the media, especially mass media, wants to push forward is as organic is not organic. So just being aware of that tends to help kind of see where. So we see the exact same headline. Let's see what they say. Sign an order authorizing National Guard troops in Washington to carry weapons, and their mission requires. Look, and I don't have any problem with that. Like, the streets are dangerous. What do we got? I want to play in the last. Only 10. Well, I don't know why you're on here watching this. You should probably, like, I don't know, hit in a YouTube video of like how to fly a plane. B. We don't have a troll of the day on this one. That's our Monday Wednesday show. So join us there. You might qualify at some point. Let's see. It's so sad, but like you said, if it were your child, you wouldn't hesitate to help. Exactly. I agree. Well, it's just like it's a sickness. OAN's online. Okay, cool. So it's only online. And that's a hard, like in our business, we just a quick aside, and it's not a problem with those that are 40 and younger. I don't know why. Sorry about that. Hope you guys are doing Honor. Appreciate you, brother. I can't even. I don't remember what it was. We got thick skin over here, but I appreciate you. That's kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, glad you're back. Good to see you. Hassan, why laugh, Pete Hegseth? Why are you laughing at Pete? Put in more. But we call it the one button problem. And if you are 40 and above, that's what they classify it as. It's the idea that you're used to going up to a box, hitting a button, and you get what you want, right? If you're 40 or below, you don't struggle. You're used to having to search out what you want. And so whenever something goes, like you said on there, OAN's gone online only, you're going to automatically restrict people that are used to a one-button problem. Clicking a button, the thing comes on, I watch what's on the thing, right? I'm not even saying that's healthy. I'm just saying that's the pattern. No, Hegseth's awesome. What's your issue with him? Hassan, we're just talking about seeing through the media, seeing through narratives that people push that often they love to push is organic. Where's it come from? That's what this is all about. Where are you getting that? Like, what are you thinking? Do you have some sources or thoughts around that, or things that you've seen? Let's dive into it. That's what this is all about. So let's go back to it. So Pete Hegg said they're rounding up people. And like I said, like, my issue with that is, like, I do not disagree. If I had a child who was leaving them on the street to be in the midst of their addiction, that is not loving. I'm sorry. You will never convince me of that, because I always, whenever it comes to big issues like this, it comes to big things. Serious Joe, what's going on? Yeah, absolutely. Christ is king. When it comes to big issues, one of the things I find that is incredibly helpful is to take things from the macro, take them from the big, and bring them into the micro, right? And so take it out of this perspective where there are thousands of homeless people that are addicted to fentanyl. We can get into, like, how they got that way and how our drug system probably helped to push that, and coordination, and how no one's been held accountable. That's all a part of it. But take it from the macro and bring it into the micro. If it was your son, your daughter, what links would you stop at to help them in the midst of their soul? When the next thing comes in, that's like the most serious thing, that we can be intellectually honest in the midst of that. Let me see. Okay, let's look into it. Pete Hegseth. This is what Hassan says. Let me add it. So stand by it, Hassan. Hassan says he literally said it, and he has a Georgian cross on his chest. Okay, Georgian cross is not inherently. I don't know what you're talking about with that. It can be. It's symbolic as to what you feel called to. I have. You may or may not. I have a lot of friends with tattoos that are symbolic and push forward things that they believe. I think, I don't know. Let's see what you're getting into. Let's see if we can pull it up. And again, I'm pulling them up from news sources that I don't agree with, because we got to be intellectually honest in things, but then also being able to read through things and see where people are trying to push. So I've heard this before, but let's take a look at it. Georgian tattoo. Sure. Yeah. What's your issue with that? It's not like a swastika or I'm not sure. Let's see. I have no clue what. Just 20 years later. Where he said he was a crusader? Is that what you're trying to say? Then look up Pete Hegseth tattoos. Yeah. Let's see. What quote? You need me to look that up, Hassan? Crusader. Could I learn how to spell? And his battle cry for the veteran picked. Okay, let's see where he says it. Let's see. This, and again, New York. I hate the paywalls on. Is there one of you out there that pays for a news source like the New York Times? Let's see. The war on words. Joined the army to fight extremists, 2001. 20 years later, the same army labeled a new one. Right pectoral muscle. I'd label a large inky Jerusalem cross. I'm just skimming it. Along with Hegseth also has a tattoo that reads "Seduce Volt" or "God's will it." God wills it. Yeah. I'm missing it. Is this like the same argument where Candace Owens said Christ is king, and they said that was like a dog whistle? Because that's pretty light lifting, Hassan, if that's what you're getting at. Myers revoked the guard by. Do you have an actual quote? Then I could Google, Hassan, on your end, because I'm not. And Politico would be the one to like put it right in the forefront. That he said that he was a crusader. What are we looking for, Hassan? His desire to have diversity, equity, inclusion, which I would completely agree with. We touched on that. You may have missed that, and why I think that that's us trying to play the role of God in things. So I don't, biblically, I don't have an issue with that. Stemming part from his beliefs that they're their own ideology of religion. He's written for woke zealots that threaten to divide. I don't know where that quote's coming from. Again, this is why we have to look into things. Need for a 360 degree see, again, they're not pulling actual quotes. They're just pulling like one word things. And if I followed you around for a day, I could pull out things from what you said that made you look awful. It's not that. I mean, it's basic editing. You have editing software on your phone that could do that. So that's where we have to suggested shared dogma's the key to dominance. See, there's no, they're pulling like one word quotes. Gone on the side, the wind at his back, he is a conquering. What is this? XX says he relates to an online image of a triumphant. Right? So if that's what they're, and in 2016 memoir, that is the Warrior's Creed. You hear that from people all the time, that like there is a respect amongst people that are willing to get into the battlefield for one another. Though I may completely disagree with you, there is still a respect for what you believe in. I can know that you are completely wrong, but still appreciate where you're coming from. That's what I would say he's speaking to right here. Yeah, he's fighting for something greater than himself. Pete knows that it's wrong what he's believing in. He's fighting for his God. He probably wouldn't have put a capital G there. I bet it was a lowercase g. That fighter, even though I've never met him, I'm drawn to him because that's exactly what we just spoke to. So they're taking that and trying to take things out of context. It's why it's important for us to read through things, see where quotes, and all these quotes up here, if that's what they were trying to do. And again, we're just skimming it because it's boring to have me just sit here and read a whole article for you. And again, this is Politico. This is somebody who is not writing from the perspective of trying to support Pete Hegseth. They're trying to tear him down. So I don't know. Hassan, are you still there? I've not seen anything to support your claim. Maybe you have something that you're hiding or keeping. But yeah, he did not say it. And if you found that quote somewhere, send it to me. I'd love to look it up and put it on here so that people can see it. We're about pushing forward truth, bring everything into the light. But like we saw with a lot of those quotes, it tends to be like you'll shine light on like this one little dinky part that makes things look bad. But just like we all know, you're not seeing a picture unless you're seeing that picture fully. So, yeah. Then look up Pete Hegseth. Look up white supremacy tattoos. No, I'm not Googling white supremacy tattoos so that I am then on some sort of government list. We are not into white supremacy tattoos on this channel at all. We're into Jesus. So yeah, good aside, Hassan, but I don't know, brother. I'd dive deeper. It seems like, look, and maybe you already bounced because sometimes hard truths are hard truths, but you got to dive into these things and actually look at them for yourself and make sure that somebody's not trying to either bolster your beliefs, change your beliefs, move you in a direction for their own personal or corporate gain. But yeah, there's a perfect example of someone that thought something we looked up in their own news sources, to try and find evidence, and there is none. So if I'm missing something, somebody punch it in. Let's see. There was one other thing this week that I thought was worth talking about. Let me find it here. There we go. And it has to do with this Florida trucking accident. Totally horrible. Florida trucking accident. Let's pull you guys up so you see what I see. Okay. Florida trucking accident. Worker visas for truck, yeah. Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. One is I've seen the outrage from people on this, what it says here, worker visas. I've also seen that. Let's just go to this KFTV. I don't even know who they are. Florida charged of killing 3 people on Florida's turnpike. Returned to Florida to face criminal charges. It's this video. You've probably seen it. You guys are on the internet now, so y'all have probably seen it. He goes to make an illegal U-turn. It's a 4-lane highway with a median in the middle. We've all seen them if you've driven. It's those official use only, those U-turns, right? Usually dirt. He goes into the right lane on his side, pulls all the way across the left to try and make a U-turn through it. A black van, speeding in that, not speeding, but driving in that left lane. Comes up, there's no way they could have put on their brakes in time. Crashes into it, family dies, right? Horrible. I have seen the media try to paint this guy as a complete villain. We have to be intellectually honest, right? Did what he do was wrong. Both getting a commercial driver's license when he wasn't qualified to do it, when he didn't speak the language, basic things, that's not right. Like there are certain, now you could argue that's probably the government of California who gave him the license, and then the state of New Mexico who had a chance to give him an English proficiency test and didn't, right? But he knew he couldn't speak the language, and he also knew when you agree and sign for your license, you agree that with what you've just tested to. So we could say that, right? Was the U-turn that he made wrong? Yes. We've all made driving things that we could look at as wrong, right? So we can acknowledge that, right? And we can also acknowledge that there needs to be ramifications for the actions of what he did. But what I don't like seeing is where people will go to shots of him, right? Again, nitpicking, kind of like what I was saying to Hassan, where you just want to pick out, you want to highlight this one little thing, this one frame, this one 2-word segment, and try to paint somebody with that broad brush. It's not intellectually honest. Maybe this guy is a horrible guy. I have not seen the evidence to prove that. If you guys have seen something I haven't, punch it in there. We'll take a look at it. But what I've seen a lot of is people taking a frame from a body cam. People taking a frame like this frame right here. Y'all can see my mouse. This frame, right? And being like, he's horrible. Look at how awful of a person he is. Or this. Look at how he's just evil. He's bad. And it's like, guys, like, do you think this guy woke up that morning thinking that he wanted to end the lives of people? You'd have to be ludicrous to think that he started out his day doing that. The guy wanted to drive, be able to provide for his family, right? And so that's why, as believers in the Bible, we've got to be intellectually honest, but also fair. We have to be fair. Should there be ramifications for his actions? 100%. Is it right that a state like California will issue a driver's license to someone who's here? And I'd heard reports that he was here illegally. I don't know if he was or not. Master and Pioneer food poisoning. Souls of Mist. That's a pretty good, we don't do Troll of the Week on the Friday show. We do it on the Monday, Wednesday. Join us on the Monday, Wednesday show. You got a good sense of humor, Souls of Mist. That's funny. I've seen some pretty good memes around that too, which is funny. Let me just see real quickly if it says anything about him being here illegally. I'd seen that rumor. I don't want to say that if, what'd you say, Mama? Okay. All right. Sounds good. Love you, girl. Killing 3 people. Semi-truck driver accused of Fesker said a minivan collided, saying flew to California after the crash and was arrested. So they let him go after the crash. Wow. To return to California. Issued an ICE detainer on scene after finding. He entered the U.S. illegally through the Mexico border in 2018. So, yeah, he was here illegally. Which, again, like the Bible, this whole idea that sometimes you'll hear from people, they're usually intellectually dishonest, but they'll be like, no, we're all one people, and the Bible says that. And it's like, look, no, God not only is that's a great question, Souls of Mist. They 100% should. I completely agree with you. That is a really great point. I hadn't even thought of. But you're right. Let me put that up because that's a good point. Is this how I do it? There we go. Souls of Mist said, is the organization or employee that gave him a license going to face any consequences? Well, I know the state of California was where his license was issued out of, but you're right. Is the person that's giving him employment, are they going to face consequences? Because they should, right? They should. You hired the guy. If what is true, almost all news. Let me pull this up. English proficiency. What I was going to say, English. Let me just do that. U-turn. Oh, that's right. I'm not seeing what I want to see. Yeah, we'll just go back. What I've seen reported quite a bit all over is that he wasn't. He got 2. Was it 2 out of 10, 2 out of 12, 2 out of 11 right on his English on his proficiency test, and then they would have known that. An employer would have known that. If you're dealing with, you've hired the guy, right? I would hope you have some sort of vetting process for him. If not, that's foolish. So that's a really great point, because they should be held accountable. They're the ones that were given him the opportunity to do that. So to summarize it up, look, what I don't like is that we try to make someone a villain, and contort them. And I guess what I'm showing is that's how people that look. Do I want people here illegally? No. And that's one of the things I was going to go into is that not only are there examples about throughout the Bible showing how God establishes kingdoms, and it's a way to create order, right? We saw it at the Tower of Babel. We saw it. There's several times throughout the Bible where the Bible references that, and that being something that God had put in place. And there needs to be, if there are countries, there needs to be laws around how to, if you allow immigrants, if you don't allow them, and that can be different from country to country. So there needs to be laws structured around that, and that's wrong. Is he an evil person? No. Is the system would allow unqualified illegal immigrants the possibility to do this and cut the wages of bro, I'm going to put that up too, Chris, because that's good. Chris said, is he an evil person? No. Is the system that would allow unqualified illegal immigrants the possibility to do this and undercut the wages of our citizens evil? Absolutely. That's it, Chris. And that's, I think that boils down to the heart of it. And I think that's where we need to keep a level head is say, look, is he evil? No, like Chris said. But should we be doing things to prevent stuff like this happening in the future, right? And put people in positions of power so that this doesn't happen to our citizens, both on like someone doing an illegal U-turn, killing a family, right? Horrible. But even to Chris's point, like how many more families are affected by the fact that this is happening over and over and over and keeping Americans from having jobs that can be good paying jobs to provide for their family? What kind of distress is that having within our country? And so I show this because it was a clear example of, to me, I agree with the end goal of what Chris said. We need to get this stuff cleaned up, get people out of here who shouldn't be here, provide opportunities for those people that are citizens, while at the same time not having our emotions swayed in a way that a lot of these would like for you to make you feel that way based on a picture, an image, a soundbite, 2 lines from a quote. So yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up, Chris. And that's a really great way to put it. Good thinker, Chris. He looked cool, maybe was in shock. Yeah. Souls of Mist said he looked cool as a cucumber after the accident. Maybe he was in shock. And I think that's it. Like, we just don't know. We don't know what's going on. I mean, I couldn't imagine, You're driving, just trying to, maybe he's got a family at home. I don't know. you're just trying to drive, provide a better life. It's like, that's the idyllic situation. Maybe it's not, but he's just trying to drive, then realizes he's killed these people, and he's in shock. We don't know, so we can't judge the guy off one single image. But good point, souls missed. Was there anything else in the news that you guys saw? I'm trying to look over on my left here. I put down some stuff. I think we pretty much hit most of them. Where you were like, what's going on with that? Or what should my reaction be? I love to look through those. I guess Hassan bounced after trying to push it. And that's the thing is, we just got to be intellectually honest, right? Call balls and strikes. Call them for what they are. Don't try and push forward something, even if you agree with it, that's out of the ends should never justify the means. If you stand on the side of truth, the truth is the truth. And you don't need to add anything to it or hide anything from people. Just push forward the truth. And so that's why, like, Hassan coming in, spouting some, talking points that were given to him by Nancy Pelosi, and then we go in and we try to find where people are pulling this from. You can't find it. Complete speculation is the way our mind should be thinking, right? If something doesn't fit, it probably doesn't fit for a reason, and your intuition is probably pretty spot on it. So, yeah, I think whenever it comes to, let me push this news roundup, must be in shock, wondering what the concept. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure he was in shock, just being like, oh my gosh, what is going? I mean, look, for all of us that have been in, whether it was like a car accident or you had something crazy happened, your initial instinct is like, depending on who they can be all over the place. So it's hard to judge somebody off of that. And yeah. What are we taught? Funny Republic. Oh, good to see you. I love, I told you before, I love that name. It's a great name. We were talking about the news. We went over a few things. We went over the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart, which is Cracker Barrel, and how it all started from something that kind of to me is, it's neither here nor they can do what they want with the rebrand of Cracker Barrel, but it really exposed not only their DEI beliefs, but their support of homosexuality and what they believe in. And we talked about how it fit in with Bud Light, fit in with Target, and how I feel like we've seen this for decades now. And people just keep not learning their lesson to know your customer. And then what we were just talking about was that crash in Florida. And because I feel like one of the things whenever we look to the news is always, look, I was in film and TV for a long time, and you'd hear people say, I don't like propaganda. But the truth is, all storytelling outside of a first-hand account that's captured, and this still could be, so I'll just say, the first story ever told was propaganda, probably. It was a mom probably sitting around a campfire with her kids, and she knew that a bear lived in a cave just over there. And she knew that her kids wouldn't necessarily understand the dangers of a bear, but she told them a story about this evil monster that lived in there and why they shouldn't go into that cave, right? So propaganda is not all, it depends on where it's coming from, right? Is it coming from a heart of trying to protect and watch over? The most companies are into all the DI stuff, That's right. And again, like I said, Sean Mike, I get JP, what's going on? That's a staple. I get that one a lot. I get Kid Rock a lot. So thank you. I was a big wrestling guy back in the 90s when I was growing up. And so thanks, JP. It's good to have you in here. So I say all that to say that everything you read is trying to hearken an emotion with you. Some of it's trying to solidify beliefs you already have. Some of it's trying to change your beliefs. Some of it's trying to solidify somebody else's beliefs. And you may be able to see through the propaganda very easily, and less so whenever it comes to your team's propaganda. But we need to be aware of when how we're trying to be manipulated, right? from our side, from the other side, whatever. And I was touching on that Florida crash in that a lot of the images published are right from afterwards, or a prison picture of him. I'll pull up these real quick. Like a picture like this, or a picture like this, or I've seen the body cam one where he, he's in shock right after, just catastrophic event has taken place. And like, it's one thing to be able to say, we need to hold these companies that are hiring illegals accountable. We need to hold the governments that are allowing this to happen, to take jobs away from citizens and the suffering that comes from people not having employment because of it, and be clear-minded on it. And when it comes to the DEI stuff and appeasing, the gay community, it's like, look, this is America. Like, you can do and support whoever you want to, right? That's fine. But don't tell me you're one thing and then use the money that I'm using to support you in something that's completely contrary to what you say you stand for. That's my big issue with Cracker Barrel. And I think a lot of this stems from, and we went into this too, is like a lot of this stems from like just all these overeducated corporate types who are in the business of being in business, like what we saw with the Cracker Barrel new CEO, jumps from GE to Taco Bell to Starbucks, like just jumps all over and has no loyalty to the brand, to a culture, at a brand, and what they're trying to push forward. And it sucks because the rebrand I could have gotten over. I would have been bummed because I love how Cracker Barrel feels like, Mama and Papa's house whenever you go to it. But I could have gotten over that. But whenever you're unveiled to like, oh, you're supporting all these things, then we have a responsibility because we are stewarding machines. God's gifted you with your influence, ability, your resources, all of it. And you're called to steward it. And if we knowingly, are stewarding, mismanaging it, we know the parable of the talents. Thank you, Honda Life. I appreciate it. It's great to have you. Thank you for being so additive. Farmers have legal medicine at work for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not uncommon in the farming world. That's it. And, look, there's ways to work these things out. But just like a blanket, it's what we talked about this too. Funny Republican was, what's going on in DC and rounding up, essentially drug addicts that are living on the streets. Right. And how, it is not loving. I saw it firsthand living in a big city that it's hell on earth. You see skin diseases, malnutrition, sexual exploitation, and reminds you of what hell would be like. And to leave people in the midst of that, and we touched on, if you say that you love someone, that requires action. And just like if it was your kid, there's nothing in the world I wouldn't do for my kid if they were in that. And so we should extend that same love to everyone around us. What that actually looks like in practice, I think gets a little bit messy and it can be hard. But those are the things that we're called to get into. Good farm. Who said they were a farmer? Who said, are you a farmer, Honda Life? Honda Life. Man, that's cool. Good to have you, brother. Yeah, well, actually, you probably don't know a whole lot of farmers if you think that, because this time of year is an interesting time when you're farming. I have a lot of friends who are farmers, and I think they probably disagree with you, especially in this time of year. Farming is not always looking at your crops. So that's what we were touching on, Funny Republican. And we were saying if anybody else, we're just about to see where we were at. And yeah, there it is, Kid Rock. Good to see you. Good to see you, Robert. Someone said Shawn Michaels. And I said, I get Kid Rock a lot too. Pop into your channel. What? Not Sophie. We don't have members, so it's good to have you. I don't know what you're referencing. No, Robert, I appreciate you. I love it. I love Kid Rock. So that's a compliment. Good looking out. We're glad to have you. But we were saying, was there any other news that people had come across this week? That's kind of what we do, is take a look at the news and try to take a perspective on it to see where somebody's trying to contort your viewpoint, to contort the way you're looking at it, to make you feel something, whether you agree with it or not. It is a responsibility of everyone to look into things and understand what's truth, understand when people are trying to manipulate you, because the world around you loves to tell you what to think about things. From the second you're born, you're told on how you should think about things, and we should be diving into those things. Well, Sophie, I'm sorry to hear that. Who is it? Just a random person, or is it somebody that's in here a lot? Trucker family in Fort Pierce, Florida, with illegal U-turn on turnpike. Yeah, AOD, we touched on that. Yeah, we'd love to know, Sophie, if you're serious. AOD, we touched on that. Did you just jump in? Let me know if you just jumped in, because I'll recap my thoughts on it if you did. You didn't catch the first part. Because, that's definitely one. Large livestock farming. You don't? You mean like raising cattle? Isaac, have you spent a lot of time around ranches and see how ranchers feel about their cattle? Because we were just talking about agendas, and that tends to be an agenda push. But whenever you deal with, now look, I'd probably agree with you on the corporate farming side, but whenever you're corporate ranching side, but whenever it comes to individual ranchers, and that's what's pretty cool about the world we live in now, there's a lot of great beef providers you can find online who raise great cattle. So yeah, where's that come from, Isaac? Let's dive into it. Let's see if it's true or if it's something somebody was trying to push on you. I went to church for the first time last Sunday. KY, what's going on? That's awesome. Praise God. How was it? Did you enjoy it? How was it? Was it fruitful? A lot of protests are taking place in the UK against illegal mining. I've seen some of that. Let's look that up. Push on either side is detrimental. That's right, funny Republican. And that's what I feel passionate about, is like, look, are any of y'all football fans? I feel like this was like the clearest example. If you're a football fan, was played out a few years ago with Ray Lewis, right? If you were a Ravens fan, look, Ray Lewis allegedly, I'll say, you can look it up, allegedly murdered somebody. And if you were a Ravens fan, you were like, no, he definitely didn't do it. And if you weren't, you were like, he those people believe that he did. And I always use that as an example of saying, you've got to call balls and strikes. Like we've got to be intellectually honest, and that pertains to our news and what we're being influenced with. So we'll jump into that UK protest. We got a couple more minutes here. I'm a tree surgeon. Our yard is on my boss's uncle's cattle farm. It's great. Yeah, I guess to me it doesn't matter whether they supposedly believe that they love the cows. I cannot imagine ever raising something for premature death. Well, I mean, that's the whole, so I would assume you're not a meat eater, right? That's a typical vegan or vegetarian response, right? That you see all of that as cruel. Is that right? Would I be correct in assuming that? Then you would say you would agree with PETA that meat is murder, correct? Let me know that, and then I'll talk with you on that. Let me pull up what's going on in the UK. UK protests. Isaac, I appreciate you too. I love having conversations like that. Some hotels across UK, tensions mount. Guardian. Let me get you guys on my screen. Okay. Asylum hotels. I think they're finally fed up with it, right? I mean, I don't know, but the last time I was over there in Europe was in 2019. who employed the illegal guy. Oh, DM, we were just talking about that whenever it came to the illegal. Was there needs to be ramifications. There needs to be ramifications for the company that employed him. There need to be ramifications for him for his actions for sure, but there also needs to be ramifications for that company. That's awful. So I'm glad to see that there was action taken. Far right, but same experience from the left perspective, which blurs the line into extremism. Yep. You do eat meat. When I do, and I understand that I'm perpetuating harm to animals, I guess I can't justify it. I know it's wrong, and I should stop eating meat. Isaac, it's not wrong to eat meat. I can appreciate the way you're looking at it. Let me tell you, we live in and amongst animals. Let me talk to Isaac real quick, and then we'll come back here. Isaac, we live in Wyoming. It's the land of wild animals. The way a typical animal will die, because people always be like, it's not humane, right? Like, I'll take it to hunting, right? Because I'm sure that would apply under your same thing. The way a typical animal dies in nature is not a peaceful death. We have elk herds that always come through our property. The way an average elk would die is, and this can happen from the first year of life. I mean, some of the stuff that you see happens to these calves in nature is just absolutely brutal. But I'll give you an average one that maybe, lives a couple years, maybe a year, 2. It's trying to jump a fence. It catches a rock, it breaks its leg. Okay. It'll stumble around, that leg will become infected. The herd will move on, it'll get left alone, and wolves will start to smell what's going on there. Coyotes will show up too, maybe a grizzly bear. And then wolves, piece by piece, will tear that animal apart. And that process of it living with a broken leg to finally being killed by a predator can take 3 weeks. The whole time that animal's suffering. Now, is that more humane to let him die that way, or to steward the population, in which here at Lost Art Ranch, we have a biblical perspective in what the Bible says, to steward the land, to take care of it, not to exploit it, but to steward it. So I would argue, whether it be cattle who are raised to be able to help a population, to be able to bring, look at, we have a problem with obesity in our country, whereas for up until a few hundred years ago, the problem was malnutrition. And I would argue that is because of the ability to be able to raise these animals, take care of them. And again, it's not just what you said something. Let me see. Supposedly believe they love the cows. No, they provide for that cow a much better life than they could have ever had otherwise. Because cows, to be honest with you, especially in this part of the country, would have a tough time surviving. So you would see their numbers dwindle automatically. So yeah, I think there's probably just an inherent disagreement there on having an issue with meat, which we definitely here at Lost Art Ranch don't. But at the same time, we're called to steward, take care of, and not ever take taking care of those animals, and every death of an animal, whether it's a rabbit on the ranch, a chicken, a cat, whatever. Those are to be taken very seriously. So, yeah. However, it's a free life. It's a brutal reality. However, this will happen regardless of whether we hunt them or not. Cows dwindling isn't an issue. Cows dwindling? Oh, well, then you'd... and we're seeing more and more how manufactured foods, because always the argument is like, well, you can't supplement. And also, I will say to you, Isaac, the practicalities of farming and the detriment not only to the environment is, from a very practical standpoint, for those people that do it day in and day out, is much more from an environmental standard harmful than raising cows. So, yeah. For providing milk as well, not only meat. Yeah, milk cows are inseminated separate from the cows. Yeah, Isaac, I don't know that you have a clear understanding of how you're talking about factory farming, which I would probably agree with you. I think it's much better to have individuals that raise small batches of animals. And usually what takes place there, and you would have issue with this too, but you're wrong in the process, which lets me know maybe that you're not around it a whole lot, which is fine, but you just need to make sure that your opinion comes from that, comes from the place of information, is that in these smaller operations, usually what happens is that they will have a mother who has a cow. They will milk the mother partly, right? Cows put off a ton of milk. You'd be surprised. They'll sell off the excess milk and raise the cow or the calf on the mom, on the cow. And then at a certain point, usually about 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, they'll then, before that the cow's weaned, but they will then sell that second calf off for slaughter. So you learn pretty quickly, especially in family farms, there is zero waste. You want to talk about using everything. Those guys do a great job at it. And that's why I feel like, your money is much more better spent with a mom and pop meat producer than it is with a factory farm. And you got to know where you get your meat from. And now with the day and the age of the internet, there's no excuse not to. So I hope that's helpful. So many cows or chickens. Isaac, you live in a city. Your food's delivered. I have to believe, just based off what you're not around the actual food production process. You don't understand what it takes. Am I correct in that? That's where this is coming from, because this is just a complete lack of knowledge, Isaac. I can appreciate where you come from in that you're trying to be sympathetic, but there are practicalities to feeding people that I think obviously you do not understand. And I think that's because you're so far removed from the actual process of where these come from. Eating other mammals, oil for krill, snakes, and mice, even removing humans from the equation, things easy. That's exact, and that's what I laid out, is like the natural death process of animals is absolutely brutal whenever you live in nature. So I totally agree with you, DM. Personal choice should be left as that. Yeah, look, I don't have any problem with people not eating meat. It's more meat for me to eat. But I at the same time, that should come from an intellectually honest place and an understanding, as opposed to being so far removed that you have the luxury of making these judgments on things, as opposed to knowing the practicalities of what that means. Does that make sense? Original. I went to New Zealand. Cows there are purely grass-fed, and milk is amongst the best in the world. Yeah, my wife is a huge grass-fed beef fan. I still like them grain finished, at least 45 days. There's something that it does to the taste, but I'll eat a grass-fed cow. And you're right. So you want to know a little trick on to know how much grass a cow's been eating. Is the more grass a cow eats, the more yellow its milk will be. Same with butter. So if you buy butter, it's very yellow. That's a grass-fed cow. So that's a little trick if you're not around them a lot. Amen, original. Pray for all those in need. Yeah, they allow raw milk consumption, right? DM. Yeah, that's all we drink up here is raw milk in Wyoming. To environment damage and land use, crop farming is less harm. 36% off land use. Isaac, I think you probably are so far removed from the actual process and what it takes to feed the population that we have that you don't understand the basics. What you're referring to there is what's the correct word? It's fertilizer farming. They're using things like Roundup. They're using fertilizers that we now know are harmful for humans. So, yeah, that it's just not the truth. Scent, how long have I been growing out my hair? My last haircut was in, what was it, like February of 2020, I think. So it's been a little bit. Elon, what's going on? What is going on? I'm doing great today. I'm doing really good today. Praise God. Except for the occasional elk. Oh, you're funny Republican. You're talking about God's meat. I call elk God's meat. That's the best meat on the planet. And it's great to have that in your freezer. That's for sure. Bison's good too. I totally agree. You, funny Republican, you're just a picky eater. You only eat the good stuff, the best stuff, the cream of the crop. That's awesome. Isaac, a British rancher, he milked over 200 cows each morning and more milk. It's removed, increased. That's exactly right. I mean, you understand, you understand that if you've had you've been around animals at all. I could reference some studies. Now, Isaac, I want to reference practicalities. Again, I've got a sneaking suspicion that you've never been around a ranch or a farm or spent much time on one at least. And that you are so far removed from the process that you can't understand these things because the way you see food is something that's shipped into your grocery store and you go and pick it up. And that's awesome. That's great. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to have such misguided, intellectually dishonest opinions on it, that's what I'm talking. And you can hold them. Whatever, brother. I appreciate you chatting on it. But I'm just telling you there's things that I don't think you understand that you would very quickly understand if you lived around the process. If you would like, but it's up to you. What are you talking? It's a whole so up here, the majority of ranchers, farmers, practice what you call rotational grazing. And so it's all, I will do me. It's all a process, right? So you raise animals, you cycle them from pasture to pasture in a certain order that you allow time for the grass to grow. It's pretty complex. Us country folk are not as simpletons as people think they are. But yeah, I appreciate you, Isaac. Let's see. Elk is the best meat in the world. It is. Oh man, it's the best. No, exactly. They do go crazy. Yeah. Elk is if you've never had elk meat, don't go buy it. You got to know somebody who hunted it and got it. Because if you go to the store and try to buy it, if you're lucky enough to have a store that sells it around you, it is expensive. It's just like prohibitively expensive. Being intellectually dishonest at all, you're quite honestly being snide and disguising with a soft voice. Oh, well, that's how I talk. I'm sorry if I upset you, Isaac. I didn't mean to. No, neither. No, I'm saying you look, maybe intellectually dishonest isn't the right word, maybe misinformed, but playing it off as like you're an expert in something whenever you don't know the basics. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So maybe intellectually dishonest might not be the right word. Isaac, nope. I don't know what you're referring to there, Isaac, with nope, neither. Clarify it, and we can talk. Whose land do you use? I mean, ranchers use your own land, or you can lease land and rotational graze. But usually, if you're rotational grazing, you're having to put, you're putting in fences and that kind of stuff. So it's a longer lease. As complex as YouTube algorithm. I don't know. Who knows about the YouTube algorithm? You saying is it more complex than rotational grazing? Maybe. I don't know. Elon, good. Glad you're having a good day. It's always good to see you. I hope you're doing good. Does not know what he's talking about. I'm sure he's gay. Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, Michael, dude, good to see you, bro. Thanks for coming in, being super additive. We don't have a troll of the day on Friday, so you won't get your award. That's only the Monday and Wednesday shows that we do that. And that one probably wouldn't qualify because it's not super creative. But I appreciate you. You seem like a level-headed guy. It's great. British Launderer. I'll have to check it out. His vid on it is great. Yeah, that's what we were going to look into. Let's take a look at that. Protests expected. Hotels across UK. Tensions mount. Look, I think people have finally gotten fed up with it, right? Like I was saying, the last time I've been to Europe was 2019, and that was the first time I'd ever been to Europe, and I was shocked by the amount of immigrants in Europe. I always think of it as like Britain, and it was pretty crazy. And I think people have finally look. It's what we touched on with the truck driver, right? That's taking away jobs from Americans, good paying jobs, and undercutting them. And I think eventually people get fed up with that. If and when they ever do, I don't know. But it finally hits a point. And that's at some point you have to stand up for what you believe in, and I'm glad to see the people in the UK are doing that because to be completely overrun and your culture thrown away and gone away with, told that it's horrible, people can only do that for so long. So I don't know. Good on them. Awesome, y'all. Well, this has been fun. Appreciate y'all. It's been fun to go over the news, spend some time on a Friday. I hope y'all have an awesome weekend. Michael bounced. He did what I always say I hate seeing. Until robots and AI replace everybody. That's true. Whenever people just yell stuff out of a car window and leave, it's like, dude, if you're at least going to come in, let's like keep it going. So not creative. Love you guys. Thankful for y'all. We will see you tomorrow morning if you want to join us in the morning. It's 7 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Eastern. Otherwise, we'll be back with Snakes and Doves on Monday at 5 at night. There he is. Let me tell you, Americans are the best. Good for the UK to let me tell you, Americans. Even though you... Good for the UK to let me tell you, America is the best country that ever existed. I agree with you. Michael, I'm glad you didn't yell it out of a car window. I was just giving you crap. We're wrapping it up, and now you want to talk. America is the best country. I feel very blessed to live here, and Michael, come back because you seem like a character, brother. Yeah, come on back because we're wrapping this up. Funny Republican, it's great to see you. Always good to see you in here. And Elon, you too. Y'all have an awesome day. Praise God for another day. And we'll see y'all on the next one. All right, y'all. See ya.